Welcome to episode 164 of Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon.
And I'm Matthew Kay.
And we'd like to thank Brickmania for sponsoring this episode of Beyond the Brick. Check out all of their great products at brickmania.com. We also want to remind you of our really great Kickstarter project we have going for BrickCon in Seattle this year. So we're raising funds to help fund our coverage of BrickCon this year. We'll be releasing over an hour of exclusive video from the event, along with some other really great rewards you can get. Make sure to check that out. I'll put a link in the description to our Kickstarter project. We've also got some really great stretch goals from Jealous Panda and Guy Himber over there with Crazy Bricks. So some really cool stuff for you guys as well. I'll have links to all that in the description. And we're very happy to have joining us on the show tonight Greyson Beights. You might know him from the new book, Medieval Lego, which just came out recently, which is a really awesome book full of all sorts of interesting history and cool Lego builds, along with the Brickuniverse events that he founded. So thanks for joining us, Grayson. Really appreciate having you on the show.
Thanks for me, guys.
And if you just want to start off by telling us a little bit about your history with Lego and how you first kind of got into building in the community.
Okay, so my interest in actually medieval history and castle is actually what got me interested in Lego in the beginning. I was interested in their castle theme. And from there, I guess I took steps. I started doing local events and contests and started getting, I guess, I've become a better builder and with bricks, learning new techniques. So I started, it was a process. I went to brick fairs, local events, as I said, and then around the same period as I started Brickuniverse, I started Medieval Lego, so it was on the same period. And I started Medieval Lego to teach history in a way that would get younger generation interested in learning. And so I started Medieval Lego back in April last year.
And so it is on the shelves at this time, or in the very near future?
It actually is on the shelves September 30th.
September 30th, okay. Very nice. And so I believe we just completely jumped ahead of everything that we were going to talk about over the course of the interview. So I guess we're done now. It was nice talking with you, Grayson.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, fantastic interview. But so I guess getting back to things, when you first realized that you were a very passionate Lego hobbyist, how did you kind of go from just a guy sitting at a table with some Lego bricks to maybe a more advanced builder? Were there specific resources that you were kind of pulling upon, or different bodies of knowledge, repositories that you were able to access online?
In terms of becoming a better builder, Bricklink helped me a lot, because beforehand I was buying sets and for Christmas, birthday, and so once I got access to Bricklink, I was able to find a whole new resource. I could buy everything I needed at one spot. So that helped me become a better builder, and by becoming a better builder, I had more interest in events, contests, and the sorts.
Okay, so it's like kind of one thing feeds another almost.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cool. So if you want to talk a little bit then, you mentioned earlier the Medieval Lego book. If you want to talk a little bit about that as far as, what kind of content is in there, were there particular, medieval battles or things like that you wanted to make sure you hit in there, for people who might not be familiar with the book?
So Medieval Lego basically goes over the time frame of medieval England. And the reason I started medieval England is that it's actually the beginning of the English-speaking people. So I thought, when we're teaching history, why don't we start at the beginning? So I chose that time frame. It's an interesting period. You have the kings, castles, your battles, obviously, and we also have hardships such as the Great Plague and the Black Death. And so Medieval Lego goes over battles, kings, queens, tragedies like the Black Plague. The Black Death and the Great Plague. So some of the battles is Greyson, Battle of Agincourt, Battle of Hastings, and then some of the kings. You have William the Conqueror, Richard Lionheart, and King John first. And so it just goes over. It really gives you a perspective of the whole time frame for medieval England.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really awesome. I love how you did that kind of a nice summary of these major events. You know, like some of it, a lot of people will have heard of, maybe like Richard the Lionheart, some of these more well-known characters. But then, you know, some of these battles as well might be a little lesser known to people who haven't studied this time period. So I love how you've kind of incorporated all those different parts of it. As someone who really enjoys studying history myself, I love books like this when they come out. You know, other books that I think of similar to this, or if you're familiar with the Assassination book, the Lego book that looks at different, recreates different scenes from Lego of presidential assassinations. Another similar
Brendan
historical.
Smith?
Yes, yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with that book, but books like that get me really excited because it kind of merges. I think it's really great when you can merge Lego with history like that and create an interesting book like you've done here.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to merge Lego with history, and they work perfectly together. If you see the illustrations, they're based off paintings, they're based on the actual descriptions, and the amount of Lego bricks, the techniques you can have in the mini figures, it's almost a perfect combination because you can have the motion, you can have what's going on, and it's like they're meant to be history in Lego.
Mm-hmm. And are all
And so,
the... Go ahead, Matthew.
I remember back in around 2006, Brendan Powell Smith's former portfolio site was full of his wonderful Lego creations, and he had a lot of like these illustrated kind of stories where he'd have a photo description. It was like just kind of like sort of harping on the fact that Lego is such a reflective medium if photographed in the right light. And so where I'm kind of going with this is, the medieval time period was kind of, we think of dark, we think of like dirty, we think of, not shiny and plastic. So talk about like rendering the medieval time period in Lego, a medium that might not be the best suited to rendering grime, if that makes any sense.
Well, that's why that's what's so good about it. Lego is showing some graphic time period graphic scenes in a kid-friendly way. So it's you're showing perhaps the R-rated scene in a G-rated way. And what's more of a perfect way to teach history?
Exactly. So kind of maybe it's like an artistic liberty it almost takes, right?
Yes.
It's like a limitation, but also a gift at the same time.
Yeah. Like the Battle of Totem in War of the Roses. It was one of the most bloodiest battles in English history, and it's shown in a way that it's gruesome. It's just minifigures in a snowy scene, and it's the description along with the illustration. You understand the history, but you're not shown our great illustration. A kid friendly.
Totally.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, kind of combining, the kid-friendly with the very much adult-oriented graphic scenes from history. I'm sure that can be kind of tough as you're working on the book. Were there any scenes that just really didn't work for Lego that you maybe tried to create a build from or something, or you just couldn't really translate well?
Scene, perhaps?
I personally can't remember having any trouble. Now we did. We had contributors. We had, I think, over 15 Lego artists join in. So
okay.
I had trouble. Me personally, I didn't really have any trouble. So, what I based most of my illustrations is into paintings. I try to go for brighter paintings to be both modern illustrations and old illustrations. So, and it's just a combination of them all help you get some inspiration you're going to build.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. So that's nice, and you were able to include contributors as well then with it. So you got some people to help out with the builds and everything, get some different talents involved.
Yes, we actually had not just Lego artists, we had scholars joining the narrations, descriptions of the scenes. So it actually gives it some foundation. We're actually having experts on and these are guys from Southern California, University of Melbourne in Australia, University of Edinburgh in Scotland. These are actually people who wrote many books, and they're experts on the field, and they're actually giving the descriptions from foundations to gain real history descriptions. And I think we had maybe throughout all the contributors, 8 countries over 3 continents. So,
A truly international talent pool.
Yeah, that's incredible that you're able to get all those people involved. So that's really awesome. You want to remind people one more time, when is this going to be available if people are interested in purchasing it?
so it's available for pre-order right now on Amazon, on the bookshelves in Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and I forget the names of the English bookstores, but I think Waterstones in England, September 30th.
Okay.
And so, Grayson, there is something I'm repeatedly told by people that are writing these kind of style of books, medieval Lego, is that what's the point in even having an author, because it's someone else's Lego builds and a bunch of scholars, like words, and so you are the guy that kind of puts it together. So I guess in like as short and concise as you can make it. What is your value proposition? What like you put it all together. We'll talk about that kind of process of collaboration, building this sort of network of people to kind of come together and make this cohesive book.
Yep. So when you're having a huge collaboration like this, you need one person to make sure the story flows. You can't just go from one. You can have constrictions on one scene, because some of these battles will include some of the kings that are actually in the book. So you need someone to make sure that the story flow is all correct. You need someone to make sure that the building standard, the illustrations are all to one standard, and that is perfect standard because it's a print book. So you need someone to make sure that the standard, you need to bring everyone together as well, and you need to make sure that the story flow. So I mean, it's not just a one-off event. Sure that each time frame is together and with all the topics. So you need one person to go over everyone.
So you are the project manager, like glorified manager.
That could be a good term.
That's a fantastic term. So like I just from whatever project management experience I have, kind of sort of juvenile experience, not much, but were there a little bit of Excel spreadsheets involved with planning out like resource allocation over a time period, stuff like that?
You could say there were a lot of documents we had to go over, a lot of collaboration we used with all the email from over. I mean, I said eight countries and three continents.
Absolute ridiculousness.
Mm-hmm. And it's awesome that you were able to coordinate all that too. So I'll make sure to include a link in the description to the pre-order for Amazon, and then, like you mentioned, at the end of September here is when it'll be released to bookstores and places like that. So definitely looking forward to. I'm sure I'll be picking up a copy of this at some point. So should be a really interesting book. Do you have any more plans to do any more maybe historical time periods with Lego like this?
Yes, there are more plans for future books. I can't quite tell you exactly right now. It's kind of a secret, but there are plans.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we're always open to having exclusive information being released here on this lovely, lovely podcast that we have. So if you ever feel so moved,
feel free to just release your exclusive information whenever you want.
Absolutely.
So then I guess moving on to something I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Brickuniverse, and your involvement with founding that. So if you want to talk about kind of the history of that, maybe what inspired you to found that.
Okay, so probably my first event was probably Brickuniverse in Virginia, and I just really love the Lego fan convention experience. I just love the aspect of it, and I've heard this phrase used a lot, but when I was in Raleigh, I was seeing out, hey, there's a convention going around in Raleigh, because I mean Raleigh's a perfect place to have one. The public's there, and it's in a central location. At first, I was like, well, is there a convention going on? And it was no. At the time, there was a retired convention, and so just why not do it yourself? It was the same with Medieval Lego. If it's not there, why don't you start yourself? So I got family and friends together, and we just got the Raleigh Convention Center. And the reason we got the Raleigh Convention Center is we wanted to have a state-of-the-art event, and so we chose the most. I think Matthew would tell you a very quality venue at the Raleigh Community Center in downtown Raleigh.
It's okay, I guess. Being from the metropolitan area, I might have a slightly biased opinion, but yes, the Raleigh Convention Center is a rather wonderful event space, and you were very, very wise to select it to be the location of your event, Grayson. So yes. Yes. And so I guess I know maybe a lot of people out there have thought, hey, maybe I could just run an event. How did you go from a guy in the shower washing your hair, thinking about a LEGO convention, to a guy that actually did run a LEGO convention? What was the first step? Did you well, where do I host it? Convention Center, Raleigh. I'm going to set up a meeting with the guy at the Raleigh Convention Center, and we're going to talk about
you do your background research first. You do background research. Make sure that, events not going on, because, that's one thing we wanted to make sure, is we weren't stepping on anyone's toes. So we make sure, and that's something we still do when we're picking dates, is you don't want to have an event same time period, same time, or same weekend as another event. You don't want to make people pick and choose. So that was one of the biggest steps. And then, as you said, we look at venues and what's the best venue. And so it's just the whole process, like that, dates, venue, when you start.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is. So you kind of the behind the scenes stuff that you've got to go through when setting up an event. I'm sure a lot of people don't think of that. They show up to a LEGO convention, see everything set up, and they don't know, the many hours of behind the scenes work I'm sure you put into it before that.
Has been coordinating and conferences before, not conventions. So it is a different ballpark, but at the same time it is an event. So it's event management. So we have experience on that.
So after you found a venue, where you were going to hold the convention, what were some of the next steps after that, as far as maybe finding builders or letting people know that you were starting it? How did that work?
It's a lot of personal contact, email, and it's also getting the word out there. And that in the first period, we were make sure we were in every LEGO news website. And I think we had a pretty good amount covered. Just getting the word out to exhibitors and vendors was the first step.
And before I guess there really were no rumors, because you kind of more or less just came out of nowhere, and it was like, oh, an event. So I just noticed there were a lot of blogs, every blog in the LEGO community that matters, I guess, basically posted about the event. So was that worth having them post?
I know a lot of people get upset. It's like, oh, I didn't know this was going on. Why didn't I know? So that was something we did strive for, to make sure we were in the loop with LEGO news websites.
Yeah, because it really did just kind of come out, and then suddenly it was just on all these websites. So was it worth having it on all those websites? Did you kind of notice a lot of people getting, oh, well, I saw it on, and that's why or not really?
That did help a lot. That did, and especially for a first-time event, as you said, coming out of nowhere, that having all those news websites was a great help, and we appreciate their support.
But of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, taking advantage of kind of using the community out there to help spread the word about a project can be really nice. So I'm sure that definitely helps. So your first event, when was the first Brickuniverse held?
So it was March 26th to 29th, and it was 28th and 29th, which is public days.
Okay, so what was the first event then like for you? I'm sure, being the first one, there might have been some things you would have changed and stuff like that, but what were your overall thoughts on that?
I thought it went very smoothly. I think it was perhaps better than I first expected, in terms of how smooth everything went. And that has contributed to some of our early on planning and make sure everything was step by step going in place. I think our space was filled quite nicely in terms of what we have in the space, and I thought it went pretty good. There's always a few things that you can work on and improve. If our next event is in Dallas in November 13th, 15th, and we're looking now. It's like, hey, this could be done in Raleigh, and let's make some changes in Dallas. So there's always some things you can improve on.
For instance, this in Raleigh there were quite a few Bionicle creations, and by quite a few I mean like 200 linear feet of Bionicle creations, which is awesome. But you know, a train layout was notably absent. Will there be a train layout in Dallas?
Well, first, I love Bionicle. I'm not a Bionicle builder
Awesome.
myself.
I'm not dissing Bionicle at all. It's just like when you have too many donuts and you want to puke. And donuts are awesome, but like too much Bionicle is just too much Bionicle. Just like too much donuts is too much donuts.
Okay, but I mean, we always enjoy the Bionicle. I like the intricate pieces and what they do. But to answer your question, yes, there'll be a train display. Actually, a couple train displays in Dallas. So don't worry about that.
Shit. All the train displays, awesome.
Mm-hmm. And so who will be, do you have kind of some builders you can mention right now that will be involved, maybe the people doing the train display or some of the local groups and lugs down in the Dallas area?
So in Raleigh, we had a Lego artist, Jonathan Lopes, which I believe you interviewed before.
Of course.
He's going to come down to Dallas, and he's going to have a art gallery there live on the show floor. And we're going to have the local Dallas-Fort Worth Lego user group, which is, I guess, a chapter of the Texas Lego user group. And so they're bringing group collaboration as well as members bringing all sorts of displays. I think there's an 8 by I want to say 8x4 Hobbit Town display, an 8x4 I think Pearl Harbor display, and then we have San Antonio Lego user group, and they're going to bring I believe it's a working carnival amusement park.
Really?
And there's going to be some train displays in there. I believe the Dallas-Fort Worth Lego user group's bringing one. A guy from San Antonio is bringing one, and I think another guy from Dallas is bringing a train display. And I think it's like 10 by 10 and 20 by 20.
That's a lot of stuff to look at. Yeah. And so another point I think that might be worth discussing, and this is something I've kind of maybe conversed with a lot of people about in relation to Brickuniverse Dallas, is that the East Coast, specifically the Mid-Atlantic region, presently seems to be supporting a very large ecosystem of sort of Lego vendors because of the Brick Fair events, Thou Shall Not Which Be Named, the Brick Fest Live events, and other events in the area. But Dallas is kind of removed from this sort of bubble that exists on the East Coast right now. So have you had any difficulty getting Lego vendors to kind of agree to come to the Dallas event, or has that not really been an issue?
I mean, there's probably one or two that's been an issue, but I think they were very happy with our show in Raleigh, so they saw what we did in Raleigh. And Dallas is, for them, a bigger market. So I'd say it was relatively easy to bring them down, because you're right, there is a bubble on the East Coast, and there's actually a bubble on the West Coast as well. And there's like maybe 3 or 4 Texas vendors as well. So I think it was relatively easy, I would say, to bring the East Coast. After they saw what we did in Raleigh, it was pretty easy.
Sure, and you have a track record after a successful event in Raleigh, so you're not an unknown. That's always a good thing.
Yes.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
So for people who aren't familiar maybe with the conventions, you want to go over some of the events or games, things like that will be taking place at the convention that people can maybe look forward to if they're attending?
Okay, so just like many Lego fan conventions, there's 2 sides. There's the adult fan and teenage fan of Lego. Basically, we'll call it a conference, and then there's the public. In the adult fan, teenage fan conference, we're having games. You have your speed build, your team speed build, your combo build. We're having architecture build with like thousands upon thousands of white bricks. We're gonna have people, attendees, have a contest with each other, and we're obviously gonna give a prize. And then we have seminars. As I said, we're bringing Jonathan Lopes, and a couple other artists, and we're bringing in like a former master builder. And they're going to give seminars on what they do, how you can become a better builder, some inside the community. And probably most importantly, we're having Matthew come down along with Andrew both out.
Yes, Andrew and Matthew will be at Brickuniverse Dallas.
So make sure you have a good time.
the most essential part, I think.
Completely transparent, and I will be there. Yes, I will be perhaps giving some presentations. Maybe not. I mean, oh yes, I will be giving some presentations. Yeah.
we're just gonna come out. Yeah, he will be giving a presentation.
So your draw, Grayson, is the talent. You have Jonathan Lopes, you have some really talented and respected builders, and some annoying Lego podcast hosts like Matthew, and an amazing guy named Andrew, who like basically runs BZ Power, for lack of a better term.
We like to focus on quality instead of quantity, but I think Dallas will actually going to have a good amount of both. So.
Totally. I think Raleigh had a nice assortment of people. Maybe it was not as big as some of the more senior shows that have been running for a long time, but for a first-year event, it was absolutely fantastic, and hopefully Dallas build amongst that momentum you started in Raleigh and get some more people on board and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely.
Do you have any other locations in mind right now? I'm sure there's some place you might be looking into that you don't want to mention, but are there any that you've announced besides Dallas and Raleigh right now?
In terms of announce, no, and I think I try to make it clear from the start is we're not trying to go on a tour. We're not trying to go to as many places we can. We're trying to actually just fill the void. You know, if this experience is not in a city or a region. Yeah, we're going to look into that. And the public experience is in there as well, we're going to look into that. But we're not trying to hit every place as we can. So, there's not any announced.
And you have a personal, familial connection to Dallas, am I correct?
You are. Most of our family are actually from Dallas. So, we have grandparents and everyone. It's just basically our immediate family over on the East Coast.
Totally.
Okay, so that's nice. You're able to kind of, go to locations where you've got some former connections with family and stuff.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's really awesome. And if you want to mention again, when are the dates for the Brickuniverse Dallas event, and maybe where the best place for people to check that out if they're interested in attending?
So it's brickuniverse.org/Dallas, and if you're that is November 13th the 15th, and public days are 14th and 15th. And if you're interested in the Phantom Lego conference, there's on the top right corner of brickuniverse.org/Dallas, there's a link to all the adult fan and teenage fan info for the show.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll make sure to put a link to that in the description as well if you want to check that out. I'm sure there'll be lots of fun there if you're in the Dallas area or in that general area and you can make it to the show. I'm sure you'd be more than welcome. So, Grayson, will you have any builds on display there yourself? Any of your mocks there?
I will. I will actually have medieval Lego for the book display with perhaps some models from the book, as well as some larger models to kind of illustrate what the book's all about.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So yeah, so you'll even have some stuff on display yourself. So not only do you run the event, you've got your builds there as well, so people can see some of your building talent on display, not just your event coordinating talent.
Definitely.
And so, Grayson, I believe we haven't really kind of harped on this too much thus far. However, I kind of would like to acknowledge it sort of as we come to a little bit of a conclusion here. How old are you right now?
I'm 15. 15 at the moment.
So you are 15 years old. You have already ran your first LEGO convention. You have a book on store shelves here shortly. And I believe, what is your current level in the world of education?
I'm in my third year.
Of high school?
University.
University.
No, university.
Right. So, for any other, I know if I was a 14-year-old, I would maybe want to hear what you have to say that maybe has helped you do whatever you've done. Like, if I was 14 years old and listening to this podcast, how could I be you in a year? Give a couple pointers. Like, what's the secret sauce? Do you wear special underwear?
It's hard work and dedication. Hard work and dedication.
Okay, I think that's the best answer. The kind of the classic answer there, but it's classic because it's true. You gotta put in a lot of hard work, and that definitely helps. So yeah, that is really awesome that you've already accomplished so much here. So everything we've talked about on the show so far, and only 15 years old. That's really cool. So I'm glad we were able to get this chance to talk with you.
Yeah, but you had to give some credit to my parents. I mean, they've helped me along the way and made sure I had the opportunities to go where I am.
Like
So,
legally
I think-
signing contracts for you since you're not 18, of course.
So, like, I think you met both of them, Galen and Angela.
Yeah,
Matthew.
Totally. So yeah, I mean, but I guess your parents can't really do everything for you. So you have
No,
boom, boom, boom. Everything's ducks in a row or something like that. Very, very. I guess the word would be inspirational. It's the only way to.
yeah. But it is nice to have that support behind you.
Totally. And you got to acknowledge the support of the parents. We wouldn't be nowhere, literally nowhere, without our parents. All of us, at some level. And some of us are at different levels based on, what our parents did after they left the operating room, or something like that. So, but
That's very true, Matthew.
A lot of accomplishments, I must say. So good stuff, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I'm sure it's very bright.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For sure. So it was really great. You joining us on the show tonight. Great talking with you. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
And like I mentioned throughout the show, I'll put links in the description to the Brickuniverse website where you can pick up medieval Lego and all the other things we talked about like that. So you can just check the description for all those links and find that really easily if you want to check that stuff out. So we appreciate everyone watching out there, and we will see you soon.